Have you ever wondered why, in the middle of all the noise about equality and independence, some women still lean toward men who dominate the frame without saying a word? Why she may roll her eyes at your jokes, debate with you about feminism, but the moment you show unshakable authority, something in her softens, something she cannot control. It's because beneath the polished surface, behind the filtered selfies and curated captions, there is an ancient craving most men are too timid to recognize. Not a craving for abuse, not for arrogance, but for conquest. For a man who does not beg for her attention, but claims it without apology. Imagine this: you're sitting across from her at dinner. You've been polite, careful, asking about her day, nodding at every word. She smiles, but it's faint. She's there, but she's not invested. Then, without hesitation, you lean back, pause, and redirect the flow. Instead of following her script, you set your own. You tell her what you want, what you will not tolerate, and what you expect of anyone who stands beside you. Suddenly, her eyes sharpen. She crosses her arms, maybe even smirks, but underneath, her pulse changes. You didn't play safe. You didn't wait for permission. You created tension, and it's in that tension that she feels alive. Most men don't get this. They confuse conquest with cruelty. They think it's about overpowering or shouting louder. But the truth is more subtle. Conquest is about presence. It's about a man refusing to bend his frame for approval. It's about holding ground when she tests, about not retreating when she withholds affection, about not begging when she pulls away. And yes, she will test you. Every woman does. Not because she hates you, but because she needs to know if you can hold the weight of her storm. Weak men crack. They get defensive. They explain too much. They apologize for existing. Strong men stay calm. They don't chase the storm, they anchor it. Here's the psychology: attraction is not logical. A woman may say she wants someone gentle, easygoing, who always listens. But in practice, those men bore her. They drain the spark, because what she really desires is contrast. She wants to feel her softness melt against something immovable. That's why she may complain about the bad boys, yet keep running back to them. It's not their recklessness she loves, it's their refusal to be tamed. The dangerous truth is that many women secretly want to be conquered because it liberates them from control. They carry the burden of endless choice, endless attention, endless decisions. A man who conquers her relieves her of that weight. He doesn't ask what she wants every second he decides, and she follows. Not because she has to, but because deep down, she wants to. You can see this in the smallest gestures. When she hesitates to choose a restaurant, and you step in, she exhales in relief. When she pulls back during a fight, waiting to see if you'll chase, and instead you withdraw calmly, she feels the loss in her gut. When she tests your patience with silence, and you don't crumble but carry on as if nothing shifted, she respects you more than the man who floods her with texts. Conquest is not about grabbing her, it's about mastering yourself. The man who can't master his own emotions, his own neediness, his own insecurity, will never conquer a woman. He will only orbit her, begging for scraps. The cost of missing this truth is brutal. You end up in the cycle so many men live and die in overinvesting, giving too much, waiting for her approval like a starving dog. And she, even if she stays, loses respect. She may enjoy the attention, but her body will not desire you. She will smile politely but never surrender fully, because surrender requires a man she can trust to take control. And that man is not the one asking permission to exist. So, what do? You stop negotiating for her interest. You stop explaining every decision. You stop collapsing every time she withholds affection. Instead, you learn to be indifferent to her storms. If she pulls away, you don't chase. If she delays, you don't wait forever. If she tests, you don't fold. You remain steady. That steadiness is the essence of conquest. It is what draws her in when logic says she should walk away. It's why she can't stop thinking about you even when she swears she's done. Because your presence, your frame, your refusal to bend gave her something rare clarity. She felt the gravity of a man who won't be conquered. Now let me ask you, have you ever recognized yourself in this exact situation, being too accommodating, too soft, and watching her lose interest? Which one of these toxic behaviors have you faced before her withholding, her testing, or her pulling away? And what's the hardest part for you, standing firm when she storms, or walking away when she tries to trap you with silence? Think about the last time you felt her pull away from you. One day she was laughing at your jokes, leaning into you, touching your arm as if the world had shrunk down to just the two of you. Then suddenly, she grew distant. She started answering slower, shorter. Her eyes drifted elsewhere. Her phone seemed more interesting than your presence. Most men panic here. They flood her with attention. They ask if something is wrong. They double text. They try to fix the vibe. And without realizing it, they hand her the very weapon she was testing for. Because what she wanted to see wasn't your panic, it was your steadiness. She wanted to know if you could hold your ground while she twisted the atmosphere around you. And when you cracked, she felt both powerful and disappointed. Here's the brutal truth: women don't respect what they can control. They may enjoy it, they may exploit it, but they don't admire it. And without admiration, desire dies. That's why so many men find themselves confused when she says, "I just don't feel it anymore." It's not that you weren't kind or attentive or generous. It's that you were too easy to bend. She conquered you when she wanted to be conquered by you. That distinction is everything. The frame must be yours. When you hand it over, she plays for a while and then gets bored. But when you hold it, when you refuse to let her storms drag you, she feels both challenged and safe in a way she cannot explain. The psychology runs deep. A woman's tests, her games, her withdrawals are rarely about the surface. They are signals probing your emotional core. She's asking silently, can you stay composed when I push? Can you lead when I resist? Can you protect me from my own chaos by not collapsing into it when she feels the answer is yes? Her respect blooms, and respect is the soil where attraction grows. Without respect, nothing thrives. With respect, everything else can be forgiven. This is why conquest is not about aggression, but about gravity. It's not about chasing her down. It's about making her realize that walking away from you costs her more than staying. When you stop explaining, stop proving, stop chasing, you flip the script. You become the storm instead of the victim of one. She senses your indifference not as cruelty, but as strength. It whispers to her, I don't need you. I choose you. That is the most intoxicating message a man can send without even speaking it, because every other man in her orbit is desperate, bending, proving, and you, by not bending, become the one she can't stop thinking about. Let's get tactical. The next time she goes cold, don't send the paragraph asking what's wrong. Don't double down with flowers or gestures to win her back. Instead, mirror her energy. Match her silence with silence. Match her distance with focus on your own life. Not in petty revenge, but in calm indifference. When she sees you won't collapse into neediness, She's forced to confront the reality she doesn't control you. And paradoxically, that's when she chases harder. Because what she secretly craves is a man whose center cannot be stolen. When she delays a response, don't wait by the phone. Keep moving. When she hints at another man to trigger you, don't bite. Smile. Let it pass. And carry on as if her little spark meant nothing. When she withdraws affection to test your reaction, don't fold into pleading or pouting. Stay steady. Maybe even withdraw slightly yourself. Every one of these is a battle, not against her, but against your own urge to seek validation. And every time you win that battle, you conquer not her body, not her attention, but her respect. And that respect makes her want to surrender, even if she fights it on the surface. You've probably seen this play out in your own life. That girl who said she wasn't ready suddenly came running back when you stopped chasing. That woman who pulled away got curious again the moment you focused on yourself. It wasn't magic, it was conquest through restraint. You showed that your world didn't collapse without her, and that reality pulled her back harder than any begging ever could. Because women are addicted to the gravity of a man they cannot control. The moment she realizes her tricks don't bend you, she feels both frustrated and deeply drawn. And it's in that frustration where desire burns hottest. The cost of not learning this is heavy. You end up trapped in a cycle of overgiving, over-texting, over-explaining, and all it does is strip you of her respect. You become the guy she uses for comfort but never craves. The one she says is nice but not the one she dreams about. And all because you couldn't hold your frame. Conquest is about winning that silent war every day, staying grounded when she wants to shake you. And the reward, she feels something she doesn't feel with most men safe enough to surrender. That surrender is what women secretly long for, even when their words deny it. So let me ask you, when was the last time you collapsed into neediness? The moment she pulled away, did you flood her with questions? Or did you stay silent? And have you ever felt her come back stronger after you stopped chasing? What did that teach you about her true desire? Picture this, you're on a date, and she throws out a little jab. Maybe she says, "Wow, you're really confident for someone who's not that tall." Or she teases you about your job, or she rolls her eyes at your story. Most men in that moment either defend themselves or laugh nervously and try harder to please. They don't realize that this isn't just banter, it's a test. She's probing to see if your frame cracks. Because the truth is, a woman only trusts a man she cannot destabilize. She wants to know if your value collapses under her words, or if you can stand there unfazed, unshaken, almost amused. That calm response, that unflinching presence is exactly what makes her want to surrender, because she feels deep in her body that she has no power over your self-worth. And that is the essence of conquest. You might not like the word conquer. It sounds harsh, maybe even unfair. But think of it this way in the dating game. Someone always sets the frame. Either you hold it, or she does. If she holds it, you are orbiting her mood swings, her whims, her games. If you hold it, she orbits you. And the paradox is that women respect and desire the man whose frame they orbit, even if they protest on the surface. That's why you'll see her argue, resist, even call you arrogant but still text you first, still lean in closer, still keep showing up. It's because you didn't collapse when she tried to push. You passed the test. Now let's cut through the noise and make this tactical. When she teases you or throws shade, your instinct might be to defend yourself. Don't. Defense is submission. Instead, you either ignore it or flip it. If she calls you cocky, you smirk and say, "Took you long enough to notice." If she mocks your shirt, you shrug and say, "You're still sitting here though." You don't overdo it. You don't try to win her over. You just refuse to let her words shift your center. That's what keeps her hooked, because it signals that her approval is optional to you. And when a woman senses her approval is optional, she begins to crave giving it. Another battlefield is decision-making. You've probably been in that maddening situation where she says, "I don't know." You pick about food or plans. You think you're being nice by asking her again and again, by giving her all the choices. But that endless back and forth drains her, because what she secretly wants is for you to decide, not to control her, but to lead. The man who conquers her heart is the man who says, "We're going here. You'll like it." And the shock 9 times out of 10, she does like it. Because what she craves isn't the place. It's the relief of your certainty. Weak men drown her in options. Strong men make her feel safe by taking command. Think about silence too. Silence is a weapon most men fear. When she goes quiet, most men panic. They start filling the space with words, trying to win her back with more attention. But silence, when you own it, flips the script. If she goes silent, you let it be. You're not intimidated by her withdrawal, because you know your value doesn't vanish with her attention. That stillness forces her to feel the gap, and in that gap, her respect grows. Because silence proves what words cannot, that you don't need her to breathe. And when she feels that, she can finally exhale and lean into you. Every man who's been played, ghosted, or drained by endless tests failed to understand this conquest isn't about overpowering her. It's about mastering yourself so fully that she cannot overpower you. That's why some women chase men they claim to hate, because his indifference stirs something in them their logic can't explain. He won't bend, he won't plead, he won't flinch, and that makes him unforgettable. Compare that to the men who worship her every post, reply instantly, and shower her with validation. She enjoys them, sure, but they never haunt her thoughts at night, because you can't respect what you control. She doesn't lie awake missing the man she already conquered. She lies awake missing the man who conquered himself. So the battlefield is always the same. Will you hold your frame when she tries to take it? Will you stay calm when she stirs chaos? Will you decide when she hesitates? Will you embrace silence instead of fearing it? Those are the real conquests. And if you win them, she surrenders not to your dominance, but to her own desire for a man she cannot shake. Now ask yourself this: when she last tested you with a sarcastic comment, did you defend yourself or hold steady when she pushed you to take control? Did you collapse into indecision or lead with certainty? And do you recognize the moments where your silence could have been your greatest weapon, but you filled it with words instead? Some women will never admit this out loud, but they crave the moment where a man stops asking and simply leads. They want to feel the shift from "does this work for you?" to "this is where we're going." Not because they lack intelligence or independence, but because deep inside, surrender is sweeter than constant control. All day long, they make decisions, deflect advances, navigate attention, and maintain a mask. But when she's with a man who won't bend, who takes her into his world instead of orbiting hers, she finally gets to release that burden. And the moment she feels that release, she begins to respect you in ways no words can capture. Think about the energy of a man who over-explains himself. He tells her why he hasn't texted back yet, why he's late, why he likes her, why she should like him. Every explanation chips away at his authority. It tells her he's worried about losing her approval. Contrast that with the man who says little, who moves with certainty, who never feels the need to justify. That silence, that economy of words, makes her lean in closer. Because what he's signaling is this: my value isn't up for negotiation, and that's exactly what allows her to surrender. She doesn't have to prop him up. She doesn't have to manage him. He is already whole, and she can finally let go into his gravity. But here's where most men fall into the trap. They think being steady means being cold, robotic, or detached from humanity. That's not what women respond to. They respond to strength paired with warmth. They want to know you can set boundaries, but also that your presence feels like safety, not punishment. A conqueror is not a tyrant. He doesn't control through fear. He controls through certainty, through presence, through unwavering calm. When you lead her into a restaurant, it's not about proving dominance. It's about creating direction so she can relax into it. When you remain composed during her outburst, it's not about ignoring her. It's about showing her she cannot destabilize you. And that steadiness gives her permission to calm herself down. Let's talk about when she withholds affection. Maybe she avoids your kiss. Maybe she pulls away when you reach for her hand. Maybe she becomes colder in bed. The average man panics here. He thinks he has to work harder, be more romantic, overcompensate to win her back. That's the trap. Because when you chase harder after she withdraws, you confirm her suspicion that you need her more than she needs you. You lower your value. The stronger move is to match her withdrawal with indifference. If she doesn't want to hold your hand, let it go. If she turns cold, don't beg her warmth. You remain centered. You show her that your world doesn't collapse when she withholds, and 9 times out of 10, she comes back stronger, because the silent truth is she was hoping you'd prove she didn't control you. Even in intimacy, the same rule applies. Women are not drawn to hesitation, they're drawn to decisiveness. When you second guess every move, when you pause to ask for approval every second, you create hesitation where she wanted momentum. But when you lead with confidence, when you create the frame and pull her into it, she feels liberated. Not because you overpowered her, but because she could finally stop thinking. Conquest in intimacy is the art of guiding without begging. It's the unspoken message that says, I know where this is going, and I'll take you there. That is what makes her melt. You may think this sounds manipulative, but it's the opposite. It's alignment with what she secretly desires but cannot articulate. She doesn't want to dominate you. She wants to feel you cannot be dominated. She doesn't want to carry both roles. She wants to trust you to carry yours. That's why men who try to be equal partners in every detail often find themselves discarded. Because equality in words doesn't feel the same as polarity in presence. Attraction isn't built on sameness. It's built on contrast. And the contrast she craves is your firmness against her softness, your silence against her noise, your direction against her hesitation. The ultimate cost of ignoring this truth is subtle but deadly. You end up resented. She may stay, but she becomes irritable, dismissive, unkind. Not because she stopped caring, but because she lost respect. And once respect dies, attraction follows. That's why men find themselves confused when a woman says, "You're a great guy, but I don't feel it." It's not about what you did wrong. It's about what you failed to hold. You failed to conquer yourself first, and because of that, she could conquer you. And a woman cannot love the man she has conquered. So let me ask you this: when she last pulled away from affection, did you chase harder or let her come back on her own? Have you ever noticed how much more she invests when you stop explaining and start deciding? And what would change in your relationships if you stopped fearing her withdrawal and started owning your silence?